Good day, Ames Chamber of Commerce members. I've got the pleasure of being with Representative Beth Wessel-Kroeschell today from District 45 here in Ames. And she's going to give us a few moments of her time to talk about the upcoming 2021 legislative session. First and foremost, Representative Wessel-Kroeschell, I should congratulate you on your reelection. It's great to see you're here this morning and ready to head back to the State House after the first of the year.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
So as you think about the upcoming session, what should members of the Ames Chamber of Commerce expect from the 2021 session?
I think absolutely we have to have a large focus on public health, you know, and where we have gone, where we failed, where we can do better. This has been something that none of us have ever experienced in our lives, and there were certainly a lot of shortcomings in our response to it, and we're still working through that. We're at, I think, 3,500 deaths. We're living in a very scary time when people don't know how to respond, and so public health is going to be a huge part, in my opinion, of what we need to address this year in the legislature.
Sure, makes sense. And so my next question probably maybe dovetails in that. Maybe that's your personal aspect as well. But I was going to suggest, what are you personally hoping to accomplish in the 21 session as you head back to the Capitol?
Well, you know, we've had some real struggles with, and this goes into one of your later questions. So I hate to jump too far ahead, but one of the big issues for me in my community, and I think for all across Iowa, is our investment in our education systems, from our pre-K all the way through higher education, including our community colleges. Those are all a concern for me. This year, the Regents University lost $8 million at the end of session cuts, and that just is so hard on us being able to provide good, solid education at a time of a pandemic to Iowa's youth. So those funding of public education is a huge part. But then my other priority would be in funding both the two systems that we created, the mental health systems, the adult and the children's mental health systems that we created. We have not put any funding into those yet, and those have to be our priority, partially because of the pandemic. I mean, it's becoming more and more evident how broken our mental health systems are.
Well said. You know, as we talk about the pandemic, there are so many factors that come to mind, but one that I think is a real focal point for a lot of people, because they've had to work from home for an extended period of time, is the need for better connectivity as it relates to communications with our employers or with our customers or whatever it might be. And broadband is a front and center priority for the Ames Chamber of Commerce in the 2021 session. What do you see the legislature doing to approach that in the upcoming session?
I have heard, you know, discussions about that probably in almost every discussion we have. I mean, it's a huge issue for education and students who haven't had access to broadband. Also being able to have how many Zoom meetings going on in your house at one time. A lot of issues for a lot of Iowans. It's something I'm certainly supportive of. We've had numerous attempts at increasing broadband in the state. It's been a little while since I've seen a serious one come through. Does the Ames Chamber have a proposal, or is there a big proposal out there that we're working on? It's not a committee that I spend very much time working on, but I'm certainly supportive of the concept.
Yeah, at this time, I think we're mostly focused on enhancing broadband across the state. You know, as you look at rural Story County, that's where we've seen a real need, but at the same time, the bandwidth, if you will, and I'm on a kind of a thin branch here because I'm not the expert, but the bandwidth in a person's home, even in the urban centers or in places like Ames, you know, if you've got 2 or 3 people on Zoom calls, it really taxes the infrastructure. It's how do we increase the speed? How do we make the pipe larger, if you will, for all of our citizenry, whether they live in urban areas or rural. That's really the goal and the push, because we've seen more clearly than ever throughout this pandemic the need for that.
Absolutely, I agree. And I am interested in any of the proposals that come through, and I'd love to be working on that.
You know, you mentioned it earlier, and maybe it's more crystal clear here in Ames as it relates to having a regent institution sitting in our community. Iowa State we're clearly a company town in a lot of respects, and the institution is critically important to our community first and foremost, but obviously to our state. But whether it's Iowa State University, Des Moines Area Community College, or our K-12 systems, how do you see education faring, if you will, in the 21 session?
I wish I had 20/20 vision on this. I know it's a top priority for me and a lot of my colleagues, but it just hasn't been a top priority in the past 10 years for the leadership, and the increases or the decreases. You know, the increases have been small, the decreases have been big for the regents. These are, you know, obstacles that all the educational communities are really suffering right now. I have watched Iowa State in particular because it's right here, as you said, in our backyard. And I've been so impressed with their attempt to provide a quality education to students and contain the pandemic. They put so much effort into it and so much planning. It was difficult beyond belief. My son is in his final semester at the University of Iowa. I don't think they did as much. I didn't hear as much about how they tried to contain it. They tried to go about business as usual in many ways. Whatever way you're trying to do it, though, we need to provide an educational opportunity to these young people, and it's been a struggle for both the young people and for the administration and the professors and the teachers. We need to do better, and I certainly believe we can do better. And part of it might go back to having better broadband, but certainly we cannot continue to underfund any of our educational institutions. But the regents are, you know, they're an economic engine. You and I both know that. And without them, or with them being underfunded, we're in a serious place here.
Indeed. Yeah, it's a little sidebar, but you noted it, the work of President Winterstein and her team, up top to bottom, the way they conducted themselves and handled the pandemic and maneuvered with very little notice. It went really, really well, all things considered. At the same time, you know, as a business community, we are so reliant upon the university being operational and open. And
Right.
so I think there was an enormous amount of gratitude from a lot of most all of our businesses that Iowa State remained pretty functional this fall. They had a pretty good semester, all things considered.
They did.
So, a lot of gratitude to the institution for that.
Yeah.
Do you see more pivoting? That word is so overused now, but do you see more maneuvering required? Do you believe in the spring semester? I know you're close to Iowa State. You pay attention to a lot of things there. Do you see that being an issue for the second semester as well?
Well, you know, students aren't on the list of people who should be getting the vaccine right away. So, you know, they're not the individuals who are going to suffer the most. The problem is they do transmit the disease to individuals who can suffer. They're older and professors and administrators, and so I do consider it's going to be an issue for some, you know, at least until the end of the semester. Reports are that we should be able to vaccinate most everyone by June at the latest, although some of the reports that have come in have not been very promising in terms of we got 30% fewer vaccines than we thought we were going to get. I don't know what's happening yet with, the second one, Moderna. Is that what
Yes,
did
correct.
I mispronounce that? I feel like I mispronounced that.
That's it.
And I'm not sure that that's hit our state yet. I watched them packaging them up yesterday on TV, but I'm hoping that, our supplies increase and we continue to be able to vaccinate the most vulnerable so that we can get our lives back together.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. And yeah, it is encouraging though that the help is on the way, I guess is what you'd
Right.
say.
Yeah.
This is kind of a fun question. This past year, we had to cancel Ames and Story County at the Capitol because of the pandemic. We are slated for April 1st, April Fool's Day in
Whoa.
21. And so in your estimation, do you think we will have that day at the Capitol in person like we've had in years past?
It's tough to really predict, but I feel like we're getting closer. And April is one of those dates that they're saying, a lot of us will be vaccinated by then. So, here's keeping my fingers crossed that we can.
Yeah.
We like to show off Ames, and we need the support, right?
We do, and that day is a great way to showcase and express gratitude back to the legislature for the
Sure.
investment that's made in this community. It's not lost on the Chamber of Commerce, that's for sure. The impact of the state coffers back into the Ames community, and so we hope to do that as well. And who doesn't like the smell of Hickory Park wafting through the Capitol?
Exactly.
At the Capitol, right?
I mean,
Exactly.
people get so excited. They talk to me about it for, weeks before it comes.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun, and it's always a pretty good day. So we're looking forward to that. As it relates to pandemic and timing and things like that, do you anticipate a lot of changes as the session opens up in the middle of January? Do you think it'll be in person? Do you think it'll be remote? Have you had any conversations with your office about that?
I have heard it's in person, that we will be there in person 100%. That all committee meetings, and I assume that means all subcommittee meetings, will be televised or Zoomed or something, but that
Okay.
we will be there in person. I've been told that our clerks, that we will be flexible with our clerks in terms of they can work remotely as much as possible to try and keep us from being too many people within a small area. But I have told to anticipate going back full-time in person. That doesn't mean that there won't be other ways for the public to interact. And I certainly hope that we make all of our meetings and subcommittee meetings on Zoom or WebEx or whatever platform works the best for us.
Yeah, that would make sense. It really would.
Yeah.
As we enter the session, what are the best ways for chamber members to reach out to you, Beth?
Certainly my email address is a good way, because I do have a clerk during session, and that clerk will be helping me weed through. The legislative email address does get pretty clogged up over time. I try and check it every day during the interim, but it gets pretty clogged up. Certainly my phone number, it's 515-451-4307. And I have my phone with me almost all the time. So a phone call or a text. If you text me, it's a good idea to say, this is so-and-so. So I know
Right.
so I know who's texting. If I don't have you in my phone, I'll be like, oh, who's that? But either way, it's a stop by the Capitol, although it's very scary during a pandemic. So, but those phone call or email are both great ways.
Very good. Very good. Any final thoughts today as we wrap up our time together, Representative Wessel-Kroeschell?
I think we have a really challenging year ahead of us when it comes to budget. We have some big justice systems issues we need to address. We have public health, and as you said, mentioned broadband. We have a lot of issues that are going to take some time, and so I am anxious to get started and start trying to solve some of the problems that we're facing. Very
good. Well, on behalf of the Ames Chamber of Commerce and our 600 members, we appreciate your service in the Iowa legislature and wish you the best for a great 2021 session.
Great.
This has been Representative Beth Wessel-Kroeschell. I'm Dan Culhane. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dan.